Welcome to Room to Understand SDG 13, Climate Action. Take urgent, collective action to combat climate change and its devastating impacts on the planet. Let's review about SDG 13.
All right, let's dive in. Today, we are tackling one of the biggest, most important items on humanity's to-do list, Sustainable Development Goal 13. This is the world's game plan for climate action. So let's get right to it. So, this is the official mission statement from the UN. Sounds pretty straightforward, right? But as you're about to see, there is so much packed into that one little sentence. It represents a truly monumental global challenge. And this is exactly why it's so critical. I mean, think about it for a second. How can we possibly end poverty or hunger if the land people rely on is either drying up or being completely washed away? Climate change isn't some separate issue over here. It's what they call a threat multiplier. It makes every other problem worse. If we don't nail this one, the others, well, they just don't stand a chance.
So, when the UN says climate action, what do they actually mean? What does it look like in the real world? Let's break down the anatomy of it.
It basically boils down to these three powerful ideas. First, you've got adaptation. That's about prepping for the changes that are already baked in, the ones we can't avoid anymore. Think building seawalls or planting crops that can survive a drought. Second is mitigation. This is where we fight back, by cutting our emissions to slow down the warming in the first place. And third, and this is crucial, is implementation. This is about finding the money and the technology to actually make those first two things happen. And you see, those big ideas get translated into very specific homework assignments for every country. They cover the whole shebang, from strengthening their resilience on the ground to weaving climate plans into every national policy, all the way to mobilizing that massive $100 billion a year climate finance goal. Now, to really bring this home and understand what it all means, let's zoom in. Let's go from the global blueprint to a story of national survival. We're going to look at Pakistan, a country where these goals aren't just abstract targets on a chart, they're a matter of life and death. And this right here gets to the heart of a massive injustice. Get this. Pakistan contributes less than 1% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions, a tiny, tiny fraction. And yet, it consistently ranks as one of the top 10 most vulnerable countries to climate change. It is on the front lines facing the absolute worst impacts of a crisis it did almost nothing to create. 33 million. Just let that number sink in for a minute. That's how many people had their lives turned upside down when these catastrophic superfloods put a third of the entire country underwater back in 2022. To put that in perspective, that's more than the entire population of Australia. This isn't a statistic. It's the real human cost of vulnerability. And believe it or not, the floods are just one piece of this terrifying puzzle. Pakistan is a true climate hotspot. Up in the north, you have melting glaciers, creating thousands of new, unstable lakes that could burst at any moment. Down south, you've got brutal droughts and heat waves that can reach 50 degrees Celsius. And along the coast, sea level rise is a direct threat to megacities like Karachi. It's a full-on battle, coming from every direction. But here's the thing. This isn't just a story about being a victim. Faced with this existential threat, Pakistan isn't just sitting back. It has actually developed one of the most ambitious climate plans in the entire developing world. They've put some serious policy muscle behind this fight. There's a comprehensive national climate change policy. There's a formal pledge under the Paris Agreement. And then you have these huge projects like the 10 billion tree tsunami. I mean, what a name. And it's one of the world's biggest tree planting efforts, designed to restore ecosystems and get everyone involved. Just look at this. This shows you exactly how serious they are. This is one of their biggest goals, to generate 60% of all their energy from renewable sources by 2030. That is a massive, revolutionary shift for any country. And here is the headline number. Pakistan has pledged to cut its projected future emissions in half by 2030. So you've got a plan, you've got the political will, but, and it's a very big but, there's a catch. And it is a massive, multi-billion-dollar catch that puts this entire incredible plan at risk. So that's the big question, right? How on earth does a developing country, a country that is already reeling from climate disasters that have cost it tens of billions in damages, how does it possibly pay for such a radical transformation? Well, this chart tells the whole story. It turns out the plan is almost entirely dependent on outside help. See, of that huge 50% emissions cut, Pakistan can only afford to do this little 15% sliver on its own. from its own budget. The vast majority of it, that huge 35% chunk, is conditional. It will only happen if the international community steps up with serious financial support. And the numbers here are just mind-boggling. That big switch to renewable energy we just saw, the price tag for that alone is over $100 billion. The gap between their ambition and their bank account is immense. This whole situation has pushed a really important concept to the center of the global stage: loss and damage. It's a term for the devastating impacts that are happening right now, things that countries like Pakistan just can't adapt to anymore. And it comes with a powerful argument that the nations who historically polluted the most have a responsibility to help pay for the recovery. And that brings us right back from Pakistan's story to a fundamental question for the entire world. Because of everything they've been through, Pakistan is now a leading voice championing this cause on the world stage. Their argument is really simple, and it comes down to justice. They're saying they are already paying the ultimate price for a crisis they didn't cause. So that leaves us with this final, critical thought. The success of SDG 13, the world's climate goal, might just depend on how we answer this one question. When a country is doing everything it can, it's showing the will, it's setting ambitious targets, but it just doesn't have the wallet, who steps in? Who is responsible for closing that gap?
Thanks for your time to learn, earn, and lead. This is Mohammad Zishan Awan, Advocate High Court. To join Vision 2047, please register with us and be part of the transformation.